Hi, my name is Herman Kunscher from Carlsquare Equity Research. Today I have with me Tine Olesen, CEO of Biosergen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tine, we're here to talk about the current rights issue the Biosergen has in the market. Can you start by giving us a quick overview of Biosergen as a company, your lead candidate BSG005, and your incipient clinical trial?
Yeah. So the first thing one should know is that Biosergen is a biotech that are a clinical stage biotech. So we're entering the clinical phase. The second part is that we work within the therapeutic field of severe life-threatening fungal diseases. And our mission is to treat resistant and difficult invasive fungal infections. That being said, when we talk about, so in the pipeline we have a compound called BSG005, that's our main compound, and that compound has unique properties. It is broad-spectred, it is fungicidal, which means that it doesn't form resistance to, or the fungi doesn't form resistance, and because we kill the fungi. And then finally, the compound we have taken forward is a compound that has less side effects than the main competitors on the market. So that's what we develop in Biosergen.
Mm-hmm. And you have a partnership together with Alchem Laboratories in India. Who are they, and how can you describe this partnership?
So Alchem is the fifth largest pharmaceutical company in India, and they have offices globally. The co-development and licensing agreement we made with Alchem was signed in September 2023, and the co-development is planned. So we will do the first trial here with 15 patients, then they will do phase 2 and 3 for actual registration and marketing in India, and then they will also bear the cost of these phase 2 trials required for the Indian market. And we are in a position where we can piggyback or we can add on to the phase 2-3 trial, so we can use it globally. Alchem will get the rights to the Indian market, and we will remain the rights to the rest of the world. So Alchem would be focusing on the Indian market to develop BSG005, and we will be focusing on the rest of the world, and we will also be able to use the data we generated by Alchem.
And what is the significance of conducting these trials in India?
So the invasive fungal infection, you could say there's a large population in India, and India is also a place where the incidence of invasive fungal infections are pretty high. And that means that you have access to a big patient pool when you recruit patients, so we can actually develop, or we can have a more efficient clinical development than many other places. That being said, you cannot only develop in India. You need to have patients from the rest of the world for any authorities to recognize that it's representative also for their market. So when Alchem has done, or in the process of them doing their phase 2 and 3 trials, we will also initiate phase 2 and 3 in the same indications, but ensuring we have patients coming from the rest of the world, and all that will be negotiated both with FDA and EMA. How many percentage should we have from rest of the world?
Yeah, and speaking of the different invasive fungal infections that are out there, can you describe and give an overview of how common are they? What types of fungal are they?
Yeah, so actually there was a tremendous interesting publication coming out in a very prestigious medical journal, The Lancet, January 2024. And it actually states that the incidence of severe life-threatening fungal diseases are 6.5 million people per year that are infected. This is an increase of 66%. So that's a lot of patients for invasive fungal infections. The mortality, so this is 6.5 that gets the disease. The mortality is estimated to be around 2.5 million people per year. So that is, if you compare with the most common cancer, you have lung cancer. The mortality of lung cancer is approximately 1.7 million patients per year, whereas when you have these invasive fungal infections, it's not 1.7, it's 2.5. So, and the remarkable part with this enormous increase of 66% is because this paper also looked at patients with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and that is a group of patients where we have not really, there has not been much attention to that particular group, but it turns out that this group of patients are at risk of getting an invasive fungal infection. So suddenly you could say you have those that already have a weak immune system, which is cancer patients, HIV patients, transplant patients. But then suddenly you have to begin to add the COPD patients, the diabetes patients, in the whole pot of those who get invasive fungal infections.
So if we talk about the current standard of care for these fungal infections, then how does BSG005 differentiate itself when you look at the other treatments?
So in general, there are 3 classes of antifungals to treat invasive fungal infections. And the first class is the pulleines. That's where BSG005 belongs to. The main competitor in that class, and almost the only one on the market in that class, has severe side effects. And therefore, I think we have a good value proposition there in the pulleine market. The next thing is, in the pulleines, they are actually fungicidal. So they kill the fungus, and that means the risk of resistance is very low. And again, that's also something that is quite unique for the pulleines, which the other standard of care, the azoles, the inocanidins, they do not have that. And the third thing is the pulleines are, as general, as a class of drug, they're broad-spectred. So that means we can hit many fungal strains without you actually need to know what fungal strain you're working with. We can hit them, we can kill them. Or the other standard of cares like azoles, inocanidins, they're not broad spectrum. So you need to know beforehand what fungi you're going to treat. And to do that, to try to figure that out, it takes time. So it would be easier to have a broad spectred, a compound that is not forming resistance and that has less side effects.
So if we talk about the Indian market, how big is it? And if you were to look at it from a purely financial perspective, how would you value it?
So the agreement with Alkem is actually they do the development, but they also get the rights to the Indian market. Biosergen is primarily interested in the rest of the world, in particularly US and EU, where approximately 70% of the revenue is generated.
We often hear about the strains of bacteria that develop this antibiotic resistance, but fungal infections do as well. Are there any particular examples where this is a bigger problem, you would say?
Yeah, the resistant formation is a huge problem. If we take one of the strains, so Candida, there's Candida everywhere, and there's normal Candida. And recently it has been reported that towards the normal Candida, the resistant formations today is 10 to 20%, meaning that in particular the azoles cannot be used in that population. And the second part, which is why WHO and Center for Disease Control, both in EU and in US, put it on their agenda as an emerging global health threat, is a fungi called Candida auris, which is a relatively rare fungi. But today there is almost nothing that can that can you can be treated with if you get a Candida auris. You don't have any treatment options. There's resistance all over the palate. Also against the other pulline, our main competitor. We have shown in both in our animal data that this Candida auris is actually something where we can treat and cure that particular patients or animals in this case.
And I would assume that often with these fungal infections, they are so lethal, in fact, that proper diagnosis can be hard. Why is it so significant that with BSG-005, it's not that important with the diagnosis?
So if you talk about severe life-threatening fungal disease, you have to act relatively quickly because the fungi burden will increase and increase and increase every day where you wait with treatment. If you have, if you first need to find out what kind of fungi is it that I have to treat, then maybe it may already be too late. By giving a broad-spectred antifungal like BSG-005, then you can immediately get control of the disease, and then you can continue your treatment for a long time.
So if we try to summarize then, what are some incoming catalysts for Biosergen, and how would you summarize your case?
So I think one thing is the internal factors. I would say we have passed through all the basic research. We have done all the animal talks. We have shown in animals the profile that is safe, and we have also shown on the effect side that we are broad spectrum. So we're in a clinical phase, which means that we have eliminated some uncertainties. So that's one internal factor. If you think about the external factors, as we began to discuss in the beginning, is that the antifungal market is potentially much bigger than what was expected just like 5 years ago. And finally, this initiative by both WHO and CDC, where you think it's an emerging health threat, means that we have a lot of tailwind to move forward and make this a product at the end.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.